Hey, it's great to be back again with you guys. Got another video today. Just did another one yesterday. It's basically a two-part lesson. It's kind of looking the same, but it's not. We're again addressing the subject of, is the Bible reliable? If we're going to be good evangelists, we've got to get people convinced that this Bible can be trusted, or you aren't going to have a Bible study with somebody and lead them to the gospel and get them to obey the gospel and be Christians. So today we're going to try to answer this question, but in another direction. Yesterday it was, is the Bible reliable? Does it pass the test of history? Today we're going to look at, does the Bible pass the test of archaeology? And that's important. I think it's important for a lot of people. So we're going to discuss that today. So again, here's my website, savingsouls.net. It's got all my videos on there. It tells about my workbook on evangelism and workshops I got coming up. Get on there, check it out. You also have all my videos on my YouTube channel. That's what you're on. If you want to get back on that, just type in Saving Souls in the 21st Century and you're going to see all these different videos, hundreds of videos on there. Take them, send them to your friends. Use them evangelistically. They are being used all over the world. So there's my two channels. All right, enough for the advertisement. Now, if you do like it, hit the like button. And if you haven't subscribed, be a subscriber, and that'll send these videos to you whenever they come out. Okay. So here we are. Here's the Bible. And what do people do with it? They doubt it. Many doubt it. Some believe. And we have to get in there and show them that this Bible can be trusted. So today's lesson is going to be, and it's going to center around the Exodus. Now, I've done videos on this before, but I've done a lot more research, and I've got a lot more in this video. So you're going to see things, if you watched this video of mine before, you're going to see a lot of new things. And so I beg you to stay with it here because it's even more convincing. A lot more things I've found out. Okay? So we're going to go with the Exodus story. So when we go to the Exodus story, Moses, goes to Egypt, lets the Israelites go. We're going to see if we can't find a path the Israelites took from Egypt to Mount Sinai. Again, based on archaeology. Now there's all kinds of other subjects we could discuss. I've got a video on Noah's Ark. And the proof of Noah's Ark, you can get on there, watch that also. But there's all kinds of things of archaeology that confirm the Bible. This is another one. All right, so let's get our archaeology equipment out and take this route. So here is a map of the Sinai Peninsula. You got Egypt over here to the one side. You got Midian over here on the other side. And there's all kinds of different routes that people have said that this is how the Israelites left Egypt and got to the Promised Land. This is one of them. Some believe they took this route. Others believe they took this route. Here's another theory, okay, down here to where Mount Sinai is on this map. Others believe they took this route. In fact, I think there's about 13 different routes out there that people say that the Israelites took. Okay, so a lot of different theories, a lot of different beliefs, and we're going to try to see if we can't actually find some proof on where they went. Okay. So, get a good look at this picture. This is a picture of Mount Sinai. Okay, this is the traditional site of Mount Sinai. Okay, you can get a good look at it. And that mountain sits right here. It's this peninsula was named after it, the Sinai Peninsula. There is that mountain that has been on the maps for many, many years, saying that this is where Mount Sinai is at. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to share 4 reasons with you that I believe that this cannot be Mount Sinai. And see what you think, okay? Just weigh the evidence. Reason number 1 is the people. It's actually going to tell us how many people left Egypt. So when you get over here to Exodus 12, verse 37 and 38, it says, Now the sons of Israel journeyed from Ramesses to Succoth, about 600,000 men on foot, aside from children. A mixed multitude also went up with them, along with flocks and herds, and a very large number of livestock. Okay, so let's just put this together. So how many people do we have that left Egypt? Well, the Bible counts out the men, that's 600,000, okay, but it didn't include the women. So if you include the women, you basically got one man for every woman, approximately, okay, so you got another 600,000. You've got about average of what, 2 kids per family, okay, on average, okay, so there's another 1.2 million. And then it says that many others went up with them. We don't know how many, just kind of rounded it off. We are somewhere around the 3 million mark. That's a lot of people. That's a lot of people to be leaving Egypt and traveling to the Promised Land. It's a bunch of them, okay? So here's my question. This is the traditional site of Mount Sinai. The Bible says that they lived in front of this mountain for just over a year. Okay? All right. There were no remains found in front of this mountain. Now you think if you got around 3 million people somewhere in that area, they would leave behind something, wouldn't they? But nothing was there. Nothing was found there. Okay? Second of all, here's another question I have. Where are you going to put all those people? Where are they going to camp? Because it's really tight right here. How are they going to live in front of this mountain? So when I look at this, and I look at this mountain, this is supposed to be Mount Sinai, I'm saying, boy, this doesn't fit very well. So for that reason, I don't believe this is Mount Sinai. But there's more reasons. It's actually the location. When we go over here to Exodus 4:19, now you got to realize that Moses, when he fled Egypt, right, because he killed the Egyptian, and he fled to Midian, okay? When he gets over to Midian, he becomes a shepherd, and he's shepherding a flock, and he goes up on Mount Sinai. That's where the burning bush is at, okay? He leaves there, goes back to Egypt, tells Pharaoh, let the people go. Eventually they do. And then they come back to Mount Sinai. Okay, the same mountain. This is where he's going to get the 10 Commandments. So he has been at this mountain twice. This is the first encounter here in chapter 4. Okay, and it tells where Moses is at. Where does he live? Now the Lord said to Moses in Midian, go return to Egypt, for all the men who sought your life are dead. So where is Mount Sinai at? It's got to be in Midian. He's a shepherd there, right? So let's go back to this map. Now, I didn't design this map. This map was designed by somebody else, and I've looked at lots and lots of ancient maps. And can you tell me where Midian is at? If Mount Sinai is where Moses lived, is in Midian, Midian's over here. It's not on the Sinai Peninsula. So for that reason, I'm going to say that can't be the mountain. The traditional site is wrong. Well, let me give you another reason why I believe that can't be Mount Sinai. It's also the location. So Paul over here in the book of Galatians, chapter 4, verse 25 says, for this Hagar is Mount Sinai in where? Arabia. Oh, the Bible's telling you where Mount Sinai is. It's in Arabia. So let's get out our maps. Now I've looked at a lot of maps. You see the Sinai Peninsula over here up the top here? You'll notice that Arabia is on the other side of the Gulf of Aqaba. It does not include Mount Sinai. Now I've seen lots and lots and lots of ancient maps, the old ones, of where Arabia is at. And about 95% of them do not include the Sinai Peninsula. Now, the other ones could be speculative, maybe in a couple of them, that maybe it includes the Sinai Peninsula, but even then, it's kind of sketchy. So I'm going to say that Arabia is not on the Sinai Peninsula. It's over on this side. So again, it's pointing you away from the Sinai Peninsula where Mount Sinai actually is. And so the traditional site, it can't be over there. So that's another reason. And then the last reason. Sinai cannot be in Egypt. So when we go over here to Exodus 3, here's Moses actually talking to God on Mount Sinai with the burning bush. He said, "But I'll be with you, and this shall be a sign for you that I have sent you. When you have brought the people out of Egypt, you're going to come back and serve me on this mount." But watch what it said, when you've brought the people out of Egypt. So that means that Mount Sinai has to be outside of the borders of Egypt. Let's go back to some ancient maps. And one thing that you notice is that when you look at ancient maps of Egypt, you're going back, way back, it always includes the Sinai Peninsula. Do you see the Sinai Peninsula up there? Just above the Red Sea? You see it there? That is included in the borders of Egypt. All the maps that I've seen always include the borders of Egypt. So if Mount Sinai, if the traditional site of Mount Sinai is on the Sinai Peninsula, if that's Mount Sinai, they haven't left Egypt yet. They have to come up out of Egypt. They have to leave the borders of Egypt. And so for that reason, I'm going to say the traditional site is not correct. It can't be on the Sinai Peninsula, even though it's called that. That can't be the mountain. So the question is, where is that mountain? It's got to be over there. So for those 4 reasons, I'm going to say, sorry, that ain't working. So let's take the Exodus journey and see if we can find some archaeological proof of where they actually went, and see if it doesn't actually lead us to the true Mount Sinai. Okay? So here they are. Here's the Israelites, and they're leaving Egypt. Exodus 13. And they moved from Succoth and encamped at Etham, on the edge of the wilderness. And the Lord went out before them by day in a pillar of cloud to lead them along the way, and by night in a pillar of fire to give them light, that they might travel by day and by night. And the pillar of cloud by day and the pillar of fire by night did not depart from in front of the people. All right. So they are being guided. They don't get to go where they want to. God is actually directing their course. Okay? And so they're following this pillar. Now, where did they go? We know they're leaving Goshen, the land of Egypt, and they're going somewhere over on the other side here into Midian and Arabia. How did they get from here to there? That's the question. Look at Exodus 2:15. Now this is going back to Moses, okay? When Pharaoh heard of this, he tried to kill Moses, but Moses fled from Pharaoh and went to live in Midian. All right? So when Moses leaves, okay, he flees from his life. He's living in Egypt with the Israelites, right? He flees, he goes to Midian. Now the question is, how did he get to Midian? Well, this is probably the same route pretty much that he would have taken, pretty close to what he would have taken the first time. Now, where did they go? Well, verse 17 of chapter 13. When Pharaoh let the people go, God did not lead them on the road through the Philistine country. Okay, so they didn't go just straight north and go straight into the promised land, though that was shorter. For God said if they faced war, they might change their minds and return to Egypt. So God led the people around by the desert road toward the Red Sea. Okay? All right, so he's taking them south, not north. And where are they going? The desert road. Now, this is probably pretty close to where Moses would have traveled. Okay? Getting over here to Midian. All right? It's the desert road. Chapter 14, verse 1. Then the Lord said to Moses, tell the people to turn back and camp in front of Pi-hahiroth, between Migdol and the sea, in front of Baal-zephon. You shall encamp facing it by the sea. Tell the people of Israel to turn back. He is actually turning them around. Okay? Now, have you ever said this to God? God, I think you're leading me the wrong way. Now, I think we have all done that at times in our lives. We're wondering, God, where are you taking me? Well, the Israelites were like, wait a minute. You're turning us around? You're taking us back towards Egypt? And then we come down into these other places here, and you're down by the sea? Okay? Now, we don't know where these towns are at because they're so ancient. They could have changed names many times. There might not even be any remains of anything there today because it's been 3,500 years. But we do know where the sea is. So I believe that this is where they went. They went to the desert road, and then God turns them around. Then verse 3 says, for Pharaoh will save the people of Israel. They are wandering in the desert land. The wilderness has shut them in. Basically, they're trapped. And God did this on purpose. Because, see, he's not done with Pharaoh. He wants Pharaoh to come after him. So he traps them. Okay? So here they are. They're trapped. And I believe they get down into this riverbed. And I'm going to show you pictures of this riverbed. And I'm going to give you a reason why I believe that this is where they went. So, if you got down into this riverbed, okay, the walls are 200 feet high. Would you say you're trapped? Absolutely. Pharaoh hears of this. Man, I've left I let go of my slaves. My country's destroyed. I got them trapped now. I'm going after them. I'm bringing them back. Okay? So Pharaoh goes after them. And this is where I believe they went. This is the Gulf of Aqaba. It is part of the Red Sea. You can see Saudi Arabia over here on the other side, and you can see on this map where it says where Mount Sinai is. Now, this would be in Midian. This would be in Arabia. I believe they got down in this dried up riverbed, and they are coming out to this huge beach, Nuweiba Beach. Okay? That's where I believe they're at. Now let's talk about this beach. This is an aerial view of the beach, and you can see the dried up riverbed coming into this beach. This will hold 3 million people, okay? I believe they got on this beach. Verse 5 of chapter 14, when the king of Egypt was told that the people had fled, the mind of Pharaoh and his servants was changed towards the people, and they said, what have we done that we should let Israel go from serving us? So he made ready his chariots and took the army with him, and took 600 chosen chariots and all the other chariots of Egypt, with officers over all of them. And the Lord hardened the heart of Pharaoh, king of Egypt, and he pursued the people of Israel. That's not smart. While the people of Israel were going out defiantly. The Egyptians pursued them, all Pharaoh's horses and chariots, and his horsemen and his army, and overtook them and encamped I can't see behind my picture, by Pi-hahiroth, in front of Baal-zephon. They're by the sea. There we go. It's by the sea. So here comes the Egyptian army. They are going after the Israelites. Here they go. Now, when you get to this beach, this is what you find. You find this pillar. It had fallen down. It was buried in the sand. They pulled it up, and it is made of red granite. Okay? It has a design at the top of it here. You can see this, all right? So this is made of red granite. Red granite is not found in this area. You actually have to go to the southern part of Egypt to find red granite. So the question is, how did this red granite pillar get here? These actually match what were found in what's called Solomon's colonnade, okay, his palace. All right. Now, why are we talking about King Solomon? King Solomon's going to live about 400 years after this event. And we know that by the Bible that King Solomon had a fleet that traveled up and down the Red Sea, okay, because he was very wealthy, okay. And so we know that he made treks back and forth here, all right. Now, why are we connecting this with King Solomon and his fleet with this marker? Well, let's look at the next one. When you go to the other side, there was a pillar on the other side of the Red Sea. Here's the pictures of this, okay? All right. And got pictures on both sides here, okay? There's a picture on the other side. On the other side, there were some inscriptions. And it had Pharaoh, King Solomon's name, death, Moses, Yahweh. So when you put the sentences together, this is what it basically said. That this is where Pharaoh and his army died, and this is where the Israelites crossed, and it had King Solomon's name on it. So there's a pillar on the other side, okay? And so the belief is that while King Solomon was taking his fleet up and down and getting these pillars of red granite to make his colonnade back in Egypt, he dropped off 2 of these and marked where the Israelites crossed. Okay, that's the theory, because of this inscription. Now, since then, because you're over in Saudi Arabia on the other side, the Saudis have removed that pillar and placed a flag in its place and a marker here. Okay, you're seeing a picture of it. It's been removed because, again, they don't want you guys running around in their land. They're Muslim, okay? So they don't want that. So they took that away. But there's the pictures. There's the inscriptions. Okay? Pretty interesting, isn't it? So that's why I believe they're on this beach, because of those markers. Now, chapter 14, verse 19. And the angel of God who went before the camp of Israel moved and went behind them. And the pillar of cloud went before them and stood behind them. So it came between the camp of the Egyptians and the camp of Israel. Thus it was a cloud and darkness to one, and it gave light by night to the other, so that one did not come near the other all that night. So God is using this pillar of cloud as a barrier to keep the Egyptians away from the Israelites. And when you get down to verse 24, you will see that this pillar was a pillar of fire. Of fire. Now here's what I find interesting. When you go to this beach here, this is vertified or infused line of sand, okay? And it goes in a line across the edge of the beach, all right? Now, that's not normal. It infuses. It's a very high amount of heat infused the sand and the seashells and made it very hard along this beach. Now, normally when we see this when lightning hits a beach. But when lightning hits a beach, it usually will make a pillar that will go up, and it will infuse that sand because it's a high amount of heat, and it will go up like this. But we don't have that here. We have a long line across the front of this beach on the edge here. Could it be that was that pillar that kept the Egyptian army away from the Israelites? Could that have been it? I'm just saying. It's there. That's interesting to me. Now the sea divides. So here they are. Here's the Israelites, and they're on that beach, and they're wanting to cross. They need to get away from the Egyptian army. So what happens? Then Moses stretched out his hand over the sea, and the Lord caused the sea to go back by a strong east wind all that night, and made the sea into dry land, and the waters were divided. So the children of Israel went into the midst of the sea on the dry ground, and the waters of wall of them on their right and on their left. There was a wall of water. So here they are. See a little picture of a horse there, right? Don't know how big that wall of water was, but boy, it could have been huge. That would have been kind of scary stepping out there, wouldn't it? Right? Could you see fish? Could you see a shark or a whale, looking at you? I don't know. It would have been very, very interesting, to say the least, to have walked through there. So here's this water, and it parts. Now, when you get to this beach, here's the Nuweiba Beach. Okay, you've got Egypt on one side, you've got Saudi Arabia over here on the other. This is about 10.5 miles across. Okay. Now, when you get there, you're going to see that the Gulf of Aqaba is 3,000 to 4,000 feet deep on the north side of this beach. When you get to the southern side, you're going to see that's even deeper. So the question is, how do they get across? How do they get across when it's 5,000 to 6,000 feet on one side and 3,000 to 4,000 feet on the other side? They would have had to rappel down, walk across, and then somehow climb back up. Now you've got 3 million people, maybe. You've got old people, young people, animals, and all that. How are you going to get across? Well, let me tell you how you get across. Just so happens that there is an underwater bridge. Now, I'm just going to tell you, when you get on the internet, you're going to read all kinds of things. It's going to try to say, oh, there's no underwater bridge there. It doesn't exist, and blah, 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 blah. Now, in the middle, it has washed out a little bit. Again, it's 3,500 years. But it clearly comes from both sides. I've seen much excavation from this in videos, from boats, going down with scuba gear and stuff, showing that both sides come out, okay? And there is an underwater bridge there, all right? And when you take this sand away, you can stand on the sand. It doesn't turn to muck like some do. You can walk on this, okay? So that's another fact. But there's your underwater bridge. And it's right there where the pillars are and right there where the beach is. Interesting. So there it is. And they walk across. Now, when they go across, what does the Egyptians do? Well, they're gonna pursue Israel, right? So here they come. Here comes the army. Now we're going after them. God must have lifted that pillar, and now they're taking off. And the Egyptians pursued and went after them into the midst of the sea, all Pharaoh's horses, his chariots, his horsemen. Now it came to pass in the morning watch that the Lord looked down upon the army of the Egyptians through the pillar of fire and cloud, and he troubled the army of the Egyptians. He took off their chariot wheels so that they drove with them defiantly. And the Egyptians said, let us flee from the face of Israel, for the Lord fights for them against the Egyptians. He took off their chariot wheels. Okay? Interesting. So here they are. There they are, crossing across. Then the Lord said to Moses, stretch out your hand over the seas, and the water may come back upon the Egyptians and their chariots and their horsemen. And Moses stretched out his hand over the sea, and when the morning appeared, the sea turned to its full depth, while the Egyptians were fleeing into it. So the Lord overthrew the Egyptians in the midst of the sea. Then the waters returned and covered the chariots, the horsemen, and all the army of Pharaoh that came into the sea after them. Not so much as one of them remained. Not one. So there they are. Now remember, go back and look, and it says that there were 600 of his best chariots that were taken. That means there's a difference between the best chariots and the regular chariots. There must be some difference. One was better made than others, okay? And so here they are, and they're coming across. And what does God do? He causes the wheels to come off. Now, there was still one more god to destroy. Remember back in my last video, we seen why the plagues came. It's because God was destroying their gods. The Nile god, the sun god, right? Their gods that protected their children. God took them all out. Well, there's one more god to destroy, and that was this Pharaoh, who I believe is Amenhotep the Fourth. So here he is. Here's that Pharaoh. He says that he's God. They looked up to him as being a god. What did God do with him? Well, remember, your God couldn't save you, including yourself, right? You got the cobra god. You got the vulture god. One goddess was one that protected Pharaoh, and the other one protected Pharaoh and his children. Well, he lost his firstborn already. And now, guess what? You say you're God, and you can't protect yourself. I'm going to take you out. And that's what he did. And when they got to the other side, watch him. There he goes. His body just floating down the Red Sea. He's gone. So much about your gods. That's what God was doing, was destroying the gods of Egypt. And the last one to destroy was Pharaoh himself. He is now gone. Now they're on the other side. Now, what about the Egyptian army? Well, there they are. They're going to be floating out there. Horses, chariot wheels, right? Chariot parts. So when we get to the underwater bridge and we take cameras down, we look at these things, this is what we find. We find coral. A coral, for it to grow, has to attach itself to something. And so what we see here is that coral has grown and attached itself. But what does it attach itself to? The chariot wheels. Do you see that? Chariot wheels. There's another wheel. Remember, the wheels came off, right? The wheels came off. All of these wheels, there's a chariot cab. Wheels, they all came off. Now, if you get on the internet, they're going to tell you that no, these are actually trucks, army trucks. There was metal inside of this, and there's a metal rod that goes down the middle of this, and Pharaoh didn't use metal, okay, in his chariots. Now that's what people say. But my question is this: if these are like vehicles that have fallen off, a shipwreck that came from World War II, can you tell me where the rest of the vehicle is? Why are all these wheels detached? Why aren't they still connected to the Jeep or the truck? You know what I'm saying? If a truck falls off, wheels are going to still be there, and these wheels aren't connected. Where's the truck at? Where's the Jeep at? I'm sorry, but their arguments on the internet are pretty lousy. So here's more pictures of wheels, right? And then you have these two huge piles of skeletons, right? That it's like the water just swirled, and there's two huge piles of them. And the coral has wrapped itself around the skeletons, and so you have horses skeletons, you have human skeletons, you can see both their rib cages, and they're piled up down there. Boy, that's interesting. Again, here's the wheels, and they're all over the place. That's pretty convincing to me. And the coral has wrapped itself around the chariot parts. There it is. Well, now Israel is in Midian. Okay? So now they're on the other side. They're over here in Saudi Arabia. And so here they are. Now they're over here. Now you get your Bible out. You start to see, okay, is there more proof of where they went? Well, here is their second stop after the underwater bridge. It's called Elim, and there were 12 wells and 70 palm trees there. So this is what it says. They came to Elim, where there were 12 springs of water and 70 palm trees, and they encamped by the water. Okay, now that's a lot of pictures of what's there, right? So here's the water. You can see the Red Sea over here where this arrow is at. Okay, you can see the wells, and there are 12 of them, and there are palm trees. Now this is just down the street, not very far from where they were at. Is this the spot? It sure looks like it. It's matching up pretty well. So I'm going to say there's their second stop after they left the beach there. Then they come to this rock at Horeb. So when you come down the street from there and you go down and around the corner and you're moving towards Mount Sinai, you run into this rock. Now it is split. It sits up on a pretty good hill here. Okay, you can see people in front of that. And you can see that when you look at this, where a large amount of water has come from it. Archaeologists say that, this is from water erosion. Made it really smooth. And then it says in Exodus 17, and the Lord said to Moses, go before the people, take with you some of the elders of Israel, and take in your hand with your rod that you struck the river, and go. Behold, I will stand before you there on the rock in Horeb, and you shall strike the rock, and the water will come out of it, that the people may drink. Again, just look how smooth these rocks are. You can see it coming down there. Lots of water is coming out of this rock. You can see it here. Very smooth. Could it be that this was the rock where the water came out of? I'm going to say yes. Now at this same place, the Amalekites attacked them, okay? And they fought them there. And then when they fought them there, Moses built an altar. Well, there's the split rock of Horeb up on top here. And then here's this broken down altar, okay? And they've tried to piece this thing back together a little bit. Somebody has. Could this have been the altar that Moses built? Well, it says, and the Lord said to Moses, write this for a memorial in the book and recount it in the hearing of Joshua, that I will utterly blot out the remembrance of Amalek from under heaven. And Moses built an altar and called it its name, the Lord is my banner. So there they are. There's the altar right next to the rock, all fitting the Bible very well. So now they're still in Midian, and now they're moving on. Now they come to Mount Sinai. So when you go down from there and you go down and around the corner, you come to this mountain, and you see here that it is black on top. It's very convincing, isn't it? That this rock is black on top. You can really see the difference. Now, in Exodus 19, it says, in the third month after the children of Israel had gone out from the land of Egypt, on the same day they came to the wilderness of Sinai. For they had departed from Rephidim and came to the wilderness of Sinai and encamped in the wilderness. So Israel encamped there before the mountain. Okay? So there they are. They're in front of the mountain. Now let's see what this mountain, what happened to it. Then it came to pass on the third day in the morning that there were thunderings and lightnings and a thick cloud on the mountain, and the sound of the trumpet was very loud, so that all the people who were in the camp trembled. And Moses brought the people out of the camp to meet with God, and they stood at the foot of the mountain. Now Mount Sinai was completely in smoke, because the Lord descended on it in a fire. Its smoke ascended like the smoke of a furnace, while the whole mountain quaked greatly. And when the blast of the trumpet sounded louder, long and loud, and became louder and louder, Moses spoke, and God answered him. So What was it? It was all the flame. It was all smoke. Now you can just look at this mountain, and it is very different. It's black on top. Today, Mount Sinai still displays the scorched remnants of God's 1450 BC visit to provide Moses with the Ten Commandments. Like other desert archaeological sites, Mount Sinai relics have been well preserved by the arid climate. Investigation of the rocks in the scorched area show the granite's natural rock coloration to exist just below the blackened rock surface. The point is, when you turn these rocks over, they're the same color as the other part of the mountain, but on the one side it's scorched. It's scorched on one side and it's not on the other. So that means the fire came from outside and scorched it. Okay? Now you get on Wikipedia and they're going to say that this black rock came from volcanic rock. There's no volcano here, people. I'm sorry, that's wrong. And this is not volcanic rock, because volcanic rock is all black like that. This is not. You flip the stones over and it's a regular color. What scorched the outside of this rock? The Bible just told us. Only this mountain peak contains the scorched rock in the entire Saudi Arabian mountain range. The scorching could not occur from a grass or scrub fire, for no significant vegetation has ever grown in this desert region. Exactly. So, here we are. We've moved from here to the beach. They crossed the water. And then they came over here to Mount Sinai. Now, I want you to see the name of Mount Sinai today. Mount Sinai in Arabia is called Jabal el-Lawz in Midian today. Jabal el-Lawz means today, in their language, it means mountain of almonds. Now again, there's no almonds on that, on that mountain. But here's what I find interesting. Mountain of almonds. Why don't you go to number 17? Okay, now you think about the Ark of the Covenant that the Israelites built. Now it came to pass on the next day that Moses went into the tabernacle to witness. Okay, now this is after Mount Sinai. Okay, and behold the rod of Aaron. Now Aaron went up one time with Moses on Mount Sinai. Okay, of the house of Levi had sprouted and put forth buds, had produced blossoms and yielded what? Ripe almonds. Okay, now what does almonds and Aaron's rod have to do with Mount Sinai? Well, think about this. Then Moses brought out all the rods from before the Lord from the children of Israel, okay, all the rulers and stuff, and they all had rods and stuff. And they looked, and each man took his rod. And the Lord said to Moses, bring Aaron's rod back before the testimony to be kept as a sign against the rebels. Now think about this. When Moses went up on the mountain, what did he get? The Ten Commandments. Brought it down. And what were they doing? They were breaking the Ten Commandments, right? They were breaking several of the commandments, right? Because they were worshiping other gods. Okay? When he brought it down there and he broke the Ten Commandments. Okay? The Ten Commandments were kept where? When he went back up, got them, and brought them back down again, where were they kept? In the Ark of the Covenant. Where was Aaron's rod kept? Next to the Ten Commandments in the Ark of the Covenant. Why? Bring Aaron's rod back before the testimony to be kept as a sign against the rebels. They rebelled at that mountain. What's that mountain called today? Mountain of Almonds. There's no almond trees there. So why was it called the Mountain of Almonds? Because I think it connects to his rod, the Ten Commandments, and it was to be a picture and a reminder of the rebellion of Israel. This is where they rebelled. That's interesting to me. I think there's a connection here. Okay? Just a thought. You just wrestle with that. I think that's one more thing that proves that this is Mount Sinai. Now let's talk about the height of Mount Sinai. The historian Josephus is not in the Bible, okay? He's a historian, stated in his writings that Mount Sinai is the tallest mountain range in Midian. That collaborates with Mount Jabal el-Lawz in Midian, the southwestern corner of modern-day Saudi Arabia today. It is the tallest mountain in Midian. So Josephus said it was the tallest mountain in Midian. And you go to Midian today, and it is the tallest mountain in Midian. And what did Josephus call it? Mount Sinai? Just one more collaboration. It's all coming together. But when they got there, and Moses was gone for so long, what did the Israelites do? They made a golden calf. Now, when the people saw that Moses delayed coming down from the mountain, the people gathered together to Aaron and said to him, "Come, make us gods that will go before us. For as for this Moses, the man who brought us up out of the land of Egypt, we did not know that what had become of him." And Aaron said to the people, "Break off the golden earrings, which are in your ears of your wives, your sons and your daughters, and bring them to me." So all the people broke off the golden earrings which were in their ears and brought them to Aaron. And he received the gold from their hand and fashioned it with an engraving tool and made a molten calf. And they worshipped it. This was one of the gods of Egypt. They were probably used to worshiping the calf back in Egypt. Where did they get the gold? They were slaves. But when they left, the Egyptians threw their gold at them. "Get out of here," because of all the plagues that came down on them. "Get out, leave us. Take this gold and leave us," right? That's what they did. So what do you find at the base of the mountain of Mount Sinai? You find this huge pile of boulders. Okay? What's on these boulders? An Egyptian calf. And how many of them are there? There are 12. How many tribes of Israel were there? 12. That is right at the base of the mountain that is black on top. And at the very bottom are these Egyptian calves that go around this big pillar of boulders. Isn't that interesting? What's that doing there? Boy, it's lining up, isn't it? Here's a picture from up top. You're looking down. You're seeing that big pile of boulders here. You can see these calves that are printed here. These are Egyptian calves. Interesting. Now, there was also plenty of room for them to live. So when you look at this mountain, there's plenty of room for up to 3 million people to live in front of this mountain. There's plenty of room, unlike the traditional site on Sinai Peninsula. There is a dried up lake bed right there. You got to have water if you're going to live in front of a mountain. So apparently at one time there was water there. And come to this. This is, to me, it just puts this whole thing right over the edge and nails it. These 12 pillars. When Moses went down, wrote down everything the Lord had said, he got up early the next morning, built an altar at the foot of the mountain, and set up 12 stone pillars representing the 12 tribes of Israel. What do you find in front of this mountain? Pillars. How many? 12. Isn't that a coincidence? See, this is all matching up. Just too much evidence for me. And then you're going to leave there. You'll leave the story of Moses and the Israelites, and you're going to go in your Bible quite a few many years forward, and you're going to come to Elijah. And he went into a cave on Mount Horeb. And you can interchange Mount Horeb and Mount Sinai. They can be interchanged in the Bible. And what do we find? we find a cave. There's got to be a cave, right? And you can see this rock. Do you see how it is scorched here with black on the outside? Okay. When you start to get higher up, this is some of the remains of that blackened rock. It has been scorched from the outside. Isn't that interesting? But sure enough, there's a cave. There's got to be one cave, and that's the cave right there. And the angel of the Lord came back a second time and touched him and said, "Arise and eat, because the journey is too great for you." So he arose and ate and drank, and he went in the strength of that food 40 days and 40 nights, as far as Horeb, the mountain of God, and there he went into a cave and spent the night in that place. And behold, the word of the Lord came to him, and he said to him, "What are you doing here, Elijah?" Elijah went into a cave on Mount Horeb. So there it is. So there's a cave. That matches too. And then let's talk about the Saudis. So here's the Saudi Arabians, and they have put a fence around this mountain. Now, remember, they don't believe in God, but they have put a fence around this. And this says that, look, this is an archaeological site, and we don't want people around here. So if you don't think this is Mount Sinai, and you don't think that there's something to it, the Saudi Arabians think there's something to it, okay? And they don't want, again, a bunch of people, Christians, running around trying to check this thing out. So a lot of the pictures today we get is from drones being sent in there to take pictures and stuff. But they think there's something to it. I'm just saying. Conclusion. Can we trust our Bibles? Is this one more way to show that the stories of the Bible are true? That God can move up to 3 million people across the desert, take care of them, get them across the sea, provide food, provide water for them, give him his instructions, take care of them, and all this proof, all the plagues, all this journey of Egypt, all in the Bible, all marked out with archaeology. It fits. That means God is real, and God is serious, and he is to be worshipped, and he's to be trusted, and he will protect you if you will follow him. But he can take you out like the Egyptians if you don't. That's the God we serve. So trust him. Get back in that Bible. Read it. And to know this is true. I hope this has helped you. If you think this is important, send this link. Send it to your friends to get them, to put them over the edge, to get them back into that Bible so they'll read it, obey it, so they can get to heaven through Jesus. Again, I pray this has helped. God bless you. Love you. Thank you for all you do. And thanks for watching today. And we'll get some more videos out here real soon. God bless you. Bye-bye.